Welcome back to part 2 of The Guilty Feminist. So plug in and get ready for the fun.
Hello, Brisbane! Are you ready for a little bit more Guilty Feminist? Are you ready for a little bit more Guilty Feminist? Then please welcome back to the stage your hosts. It's Deborah Francis White and Alice Fraser! Hello. How was your interval? What happened with the coven? Excellent. Okay, so what's the news? What's the latest?
I've got an email. We're going to talk to our people.
You've got an email and you're going to talk to your people.
And Felicia's people are also going to get a pep talk.
And Felicia's people... Is it Felicia or Felicity?
Felicia.
Felicia's people are also going to get a pep talk. So great. Okay. How much does a pep talk cost out of interest?
Free while it's funded.
Free what?
Free while it's funded.
Oh, it's free while it's funded. Oh, so if you want a pep talk, is that just free? Like if I wanted a pep talk about period pain, would you come to me personally?
Book me in for an hour.
I can book you in for an hour. While it's funded. So Felicia's going to make sure it continues to be funded. Felicia, did you get an egg?
Embryos, and I'll be paying $5,000 to have the pep talk at my organisation.
Wow. So Felicia got eggs and embryos. I truly believe this is the only comedy show in the world where somebody has got an egg and an embryo in the interval, and no one has been the least bit surprised. I feel like Jimmy Carr comes over to Australia all the time, and I bet that's never happened. But I also note, this is a true thing.
No one's throwing their eggs at Jimmy Carr.
Yeah. I think if Jimmy Carr wanted an egg, he'd just go and buy one from the black market and
write it off on tax.
Write it off on tax, absolutely. He would offshore that egg. He's probably got loads of embryos offshore, just waiting in case he ever wants... Anyway.
Well, you know what people average say? They say, you can't make an omelette.
Or a baby. So can I ask, because this is a true thing that I've noticed, again, the difference between my audience and Jimmy Carr's audience. He doesn't know about this, and nor would he give a fuck if he did. But I have noticed that my audience are made up of 3 groups. Generally, people who work in a feminist profession, something with gender in it, like period pain or something like that. 2, people who work in a more general, healthcare, literacy, something doing good for the world. Or 3, people who are doing PhDs about Virginia Woolf. Just give us a cheer if you are doing a PhD. Yep, loads of PhDs. Again, Jimmy Carr's audience,
but I feel like
could not find one PhD.
I feel the PhDs are just the embryonic form of the other 2. They're about to sprout along one of those 2 paths.
Yes, more embryos, ever more embryos. Just a cheer if you've already got a PhD. Those people are more smug, aren't they? They're like, we've fucking done it. There's years of how they're like, yeah, that dissertation is in, baby. I've got the doctor. No one can take it away from me. Whereas the active PhDs are just like, yes, I'm doing one. I don't know. Just give us a shout out if you're currently doing a PhD, what your PhD is in.
Chronic pain.
Chronic pain. You could get together with pelvic pain. Would you do pep talks? You haven't got time to do pep talks. You're doing research. You're researching chronic pain. Who else is doing a PhD?
Over here.
Yes? Oh, you're telling on someone like it's a police state. Your aunt is doing a PhD. What's your... Imagine coming up with an aunt who's doing a PhD. It's so erudite, isn't it? What's your aunt doing a PhD in? She can speak for herself.
The Inter-American Court of Human Rights.
Inter-American Court of Human Rights. We don't even know what that is, really. But we're incredibly impressed. That is just absolutely standard. Not that you have to be doing those things, but it is... I often feel if we just locked the doors, we could solve... For 48 hours, we could solve a third of the world's problems.
Inter-American... I was into an American once.
American sex joke. Yes. This woman's doing Inter-American human rights.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? She gets out of bed every day and she knows she's got purpose and she's changing the world. Do you feel you are changing the world, or do you think the world's fucked?
I hope the world will change.
You hope the world will change. Yeah. Well done for doing the human rights you're doing. Anybody else doing anything human rightsy or PhDs? More PhDs?
Over here.
What's yours? Menstrual cycles. God, this room is very menstrual.
Yeah.
There's a lot of menstrual pain in this room. This show could be retitled Cramps. Cramps.
Yeah, is there someone here who I can talk about the fact that I got my period back 3 months after giving birth? Is there a complaints line that I can call?
How long is it meant to be?
Well, some people don't get it back till they stop breastfeeding, so it can be years.
Oh, wow.
And my body's like, yeah, let's go again. Fuck you!
But look, now you have 2 gorgeous children and you bleed once a month. I don't know what to tell you.
I think there's only one reason to get a PhD, and it's so that when you're on a plane, on the rare occasion that someone says, is there a doctor, you can go,
I'm enjoying you very much as an audience, but I feel you are a bit far away. My main complaint with this I love this venue. I mean, it's chandeliers, it's beautiful things. But my main complaint is that the people, especially down in the front row, I know that you've got the same view I get when I accidentally open my camera phone the wrong way and go, oh my God!
Yeah, it's making me regret the choice to not wear pants.
Yeah. I prefer an audience that are higher than me, so it's a more flattering angle. Just cheer if you've not been to a live show before. Are you having a nice time? Excellent. Have you not been to any live show before, just this one? Just this one, okay. All right, it's time to meet
our guest.
On
stage.
Our next guest, yes.
Stand-up comedian, legend, icon.
Ugandan Australian comic and poet, Anisa Nandaula's unique point of view and experiences fuel the fresh new perspective she's bringing to the local comedy scene and beyond. We're very lucky to have her in Brisbane because she's got zillions of TikTok followers. Born in Uganda in 2001, Anisa moved to Australia when she was 8 and grew up in Rockhampton. Is that far away? Yeah. Thank you. Cutting her teeth further than Harvey Bay? Harvey Bay? Yeah. Further. Cutting her teeth through spoken word poetry, Anisa won the 2016 Queensland Poetry Slam and was runner-up in the Australia Poetry Slam Championships, and then took what she learned to break into comedy in 2020. Mining everything from racism to relationships, religion to class, has seen her amass more than 50 million views of her work across Instagram, TikTok and YouTube, and more than 200,000 social media followers.
Wow.
I know. Anisa mixes the personal with the political to connect with audiences, veering from relatable dating and finance stories to observations about navigating Australian society while black and back again. She has performed on Channel 10, SBS, ABC, at the Sydney Opera House, and tonight, for the very first time on The Guilty Feminist, put your hands together and make incredible war-hoing noises for Anisa Nandaula. Welcome to the mic.
Oh my God, I'm so happy to be here. Yes, I'm originally from Uganda, and before my mom brought me to this beautiful country, she was like, Anisa, I'm going to move you to the most multicultural part of Australia. And yes, I grew up in Rockhampton. I loved it. My teachers used to come up to me and they'd be like, excuse me, no hat, no play. I was like, I'm black, go away. My mom struggled to adjust. Like, as soon as we got there, she started calling the police on possums. 000. I've got an intruder with pointy nose, sharp claws, big hairy ass. The police took my brother. You can laugh, he's ugly. As soon as the cops got there, they just pushed him against the wall. And you'll never understand how conflicting it is to see police brutality happening on someone that bullies you. Leave him alone, but get him a little, what's the right feeling? I'm so grateful to be here. I feel really Aussie, you know? Like, I've lived here for the last 20 years, 5 legally, but I find it really strange when people assume that I'm not Aussie because I enunciate my R's. They think I'm American. Do you guys get that vibe? Yeah. And I've got to remind people that there's actually like a scientific way to tell whether someone's American just by looking at their palm. See, I'm not American That's why on my palm, there's only 3 lines and there's no gun. So that's... We're so much better than them, aren't we? Any Americans in the crowd say, yeah, get fucked. No, I'm just being serious, but I came to Australia with my single mom, and I don't know, a part of me was always like super jealous of people that grew up with 2 parents. Like if you grew up with 2 parents, say, yeah. Yeah? You think you're better than me? I'm so jealous because I feel like when you've got 2 parents, right? Like one usually like disciplines and then the other one will like come in and they'll comfort you. But when I was naughty, my single mom, she would smack me and then 5 minutes later she'd be like, Anisa, what that crazy lady did back there was fucked. And it was just a weird way to figure out she had bipolar. I was like... I know I get all my mental health stuff from her. I looked up the cost of therapy, $297. I said, fuck it, I'll be sad. Therapy is so expensive. Like, I treat my head the same way I treat my shitty car. I can hear noises that aren't supposed to be there, but I can't afford to get them checked out. I'm just gonna wait till I break down. I'm dating an Aussie now, and I'm very in love, but I was super nervous to meet his parents because I wanted them to like me. So I was like, could you drop some subtle hints that I'm African before I get there? Because I didn't just want to like, boo. You know? I got this old guy, he's like, oh, all right. You know? And I was like, just some subtle hints. Like, you don't have to be too obvious. Just like, oh, by the way, Mom, my girlfriend's highly likely to come first in a 100-meter sprint. And then you just keep on moving. She's clapping because it's true. She's like, I've seen her on TV. She's fast. And I'm so happy. I'm so happy I have a partner because I could have been on your podcast. I've dated so many mean guys. So many. Let me tell you the meanest guy that I ever dated. I remember I dated this dude, and he goes, you smell like tuna. Yeah. And in my Ugandan culture, eating fish is for the rich. I opened my legs, said, welcome to the upper class. Why are you covering your nose? Can you smell it? Breathe. I'm happy to be here. I'm grateful to be in Australia because my life in Uganda was so different. I never had access to electricity. Like, it would just turn on and off randomly. So I'd fill the house with candles. And I started associating candles with being broke. So now when my Australian boyfriend's trying to be sexy by lighting candles, leaving handcuffs on the bed, I'm like, you fucking threatening me? 'Cause I'm not going back. He loves the scent. He's like, it's pomegranate. I'm like, you don't pronounce it like that. It's pronounced poverty. I'm not. I've been here for so long that I have to Google facts about Uganda. And these are the only 2 facts you guys need to know about my home country, right? So the first fact is whenever tourists come and visit, they often get run over because our traffic is crazy. And then the second fact is Uganda is actually known for making the best coffee. So in either situation, we make a really good flat white. And you guys have been incredible. I've been Anisa.
Anisa Nandaula, everybody, come join us. Sit here. You can sit in a minute if you like. You can sit in a minute. That was fantastic, Anisa. Now, before we get talking, we would love to bring back our guest from the first half. She's an incredible performance poet. You've heard her work and seen it already. She's a proud African woman who aims to represent black Muslim women in the poetry scene. Put your hands together and make wonderful noises for Huda the Goddess! Huda, come take a seat. Do you want to push your seats around a bit just so that you can see each other? Excellent. So we're all, yeah. Is that good? Yeah. Excellent. Thank you so much. You were both just so wonderful, and I really, really enjoyed it. Now, you referred to, Huda, that you're from a matriarchal culture, and you also, in the information you sent in, Anisa, said that you also felt that a matriarchal culture had informed your work. Talk to us about matriarchy, because we are from patriarchy. We don't know anything about it. No, I mean, most of us in this room. Just give us a cheer if you're basically from patriarchy, if you're from a male-dominated culture, and you watch TV shows about the dad being the head of the household, and, that's sort of we have tried to shift that, but that's the origin of the culture. Tell us about matriarchy. We're keen to hear.
Yeah, I definitely say that Uganda is still quite patriarchal, but everyone knows it's the women that run the household. It's the women that shape the backbone of the children, that shape our attitudes and beliefs. And I grew up as a kid just watching all my aunties, my mom in the kitchen, cooking, making chapatis, telling the funniest stories, being these hilarious characters that had everyone rolling. And I didn't know it back then, but now I'm like, I just want to be half as funny as those women, because they brought so much light into the household.
Yes, that's lovely, and I think that's true actually. Sometimes of everyone's experience, that the women are making things happen, and the women are shaping the character, or often the emotional thermometer of the house or the organisation, but they're just. The narrative is not that really they're getting the credit. I think that's often the case.
Yeah, 100%. And growing up with a brother and seeing how he was affected with a single mom leading the house, he's the most sensitive person in there. And how men can be shaped when they're allowed to feel and thrive.
Yeah.
And what does that look like?
What does that look like? How is this for you, Huda? Because you mentioned matriarchy.
Yeah, I think now that I'm looking at it like as an adult outside, I think the matriarchy was created by women who rejected the patriarchy outside. So the failed system and the failed norm of the man runs the household just didn't work for us. Like, my grandmother ruled the house with an iron fist. Her word was law. There was nobody else to follow after her. So my relationship with femininity has always been power. And an educator and a healer. It was a composition of all things Western society has separated based on gender. I've never seen women to be super emotional and cry. I don't know what that is. So it's like I had powerful women who were decision makers who, even if they were not excelling in a Western concept of like what it means to be a successful woman, the house would crumble without my grandmother up. No one would make a decision. Nothing would move forward. No one would travel. No decisions were being finalized because she was the head of the household. And even though she didn't need to stand in front of the door and be like, this is my house, when you walked inside that door, you knew whose house it was. There were no words needed,
And how has that informed your work, do you think? Because you have such power on stage, such presence.
I think it is the backbone of my poetry. Like, I have a legacy of unapologetic, revolutionary makers in my family. My mother's a single mother who built the goddess out of a possible statistic. I should have been buried somewhere in a corner trying to make something of myself back home in a war-torn zone country. Yeah. But now I stand on stage as the goddess. I am the evolution of unapologetic women who have bent and created their own narrative within a system that does not want them to have one. So I am a breadcrumb of them. I'm everything.
Do you relate to this, Alice?
Do I relate to...
Like a matriarchal household?
Yeah, my Jewish grandmother was definitely the boss of the household. My granny, she's a Holocaust survivor. She was one of those wonderful, warm, kind, considerate bigots. She would just say the most horrendous shit all of the time, but then she was just beyond generous. Was always making chicken soup for someone or letting someone sleep in her spare room, or just going above and beyond. There was always like 4 or 5 stray dogs who she'd gathered, and just stray people, and she could never see a hungry child or a hungry animal without stopping.
I think that's a really common thing, to be prejudiced in general and then to be able to exceptionalize people you actually meet. I think that's a really common thing. It's like, but my neighbor that's different. People who are anti-refugees, except for their next door neighbor, who are wonderful, and we swap food, and then
Which is why stories are so important.
Why stories are so important.
Bring the individual into the statistic. It tells you that these are people, and I think the more stories you hear, the better it is.
We need to be able to not exceptionalize, to not say, we'll accept this person. We need to be able to say, if this person and this person and this person and this person, then many people. Like when Irish abortion laws were being overturned, in the polls, people said that they were more influenced to vote for abortion by stories they'd heard on the television than they were from stories in their own family. And I think that's because we exceptionalize. We go, well, abortion's wrong, but my sister Mary really did need one. And that was different. Whereas when they heard lots of Sister Marys on the television and on the radio and in the theatre, they started to think, hold on a minute. My Sister Mary isn't special. There's lots and lots of people who need that. And that's really what we need to do.
I was once in, this is a tangent.
I was once in a taxi in the Highlands of Scotland, and the taxi driver for an hour and a half very seriously told me that he thought the reason that the independence vote in Scotland had failed was because there was a conspiracy to keep the romance television show Outlander out of Scotland because it would inspire too much national pride, and had it come in to Scotland, and they delayed the release on Netflix because Jamie Fraser's sexy abs would have been so powerful
as to liberate a whole country. I don't think that's a conspiracy. I think that's right. Can art ever be not political? Discuss. Do you think, Huda, art can ever be not political?
Yeah, sure. Art can be not political if you eliminate women, people of color, marginalized communities, anyone who has a story to tell. Yeah, sure. If you eliminate everybody who has ever suffered at a system that is completely failing us on every basis of our humanity, mentally, spiritually, economically, socially, community-wise, if you are asking for art that is non-political, you are asking for people to shut down everything that makes them human.
Is that not political, or is it reinforcing the politics of power that we already have in a way?
Absolutely. It's such a contradictory thing to be like, I want non-political things, but my policy and my politics will enforce you not having any.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Anything that is not political is reinforcing the status quo.
Yeah.
My dad was a big copyright warrior, fighting for people to be paid for their work, intellectual property work, artistic work. And he said, this is the thing, artists will make art, but if you don't pay artists for their art, the people who are making art will be wealthy amateurs and people who are being paid by corporate interests.
Yes. And people who can afford to make art and tell the story, everything's fine as it is. Or these voices are the most important ones, which sort of brings us to kind of, I suppose, the power of representation. Who's on the front of a magazine tells us who's important in society. What do you think about representation and the importance of representation in comedy and performance poetry and other theatrical spaces, Anisa?
I think it's vital, and also back to the point of what's political. When I'm sharing stand-up, so often I get people being like, oh, you're only telling black jokes, so you're being political. It's like, no. This is my life. This is my story. You've just never heard it before. And I think if you have stories of women of color, just diverse stories on the screen. It's no longer political. You're just being empathetic to a perspective that is not yours. And yeah, I think there's such a hunger for different voices, but there's so many gatekeepers who are in the way.
Do you feel like it's shifting? Do you feel like it's changing?
Yeah, 100%, especially with social media. You can't control the algorithm. People watch what they want to watch. And we're seeing it now, especially in Australia. So many comics of color that are going viral are Indian women, Asian women, like the tornado is here. This is what people want. And yeah, you can't stop it.
I mean, they are interfering with the algorithm now, because I keep seeing, not the people I follow, but like, I see a lot of content that's like American Christians who are trying to be celibate. Like, I see a lot of content about that. And I'm like, I didn't ask for this.
I get served trad wife mumfluencers. Has anyone, do you know trad wife mumfluencers? If you don't know them, just Google nappies a few times and they'll appear. So a trad wife mumfluencer is a lady, and she says that women shouldn't have a job and that people shouldn't pay women for their job, and saying that is her job. And people pay her to do
That
it.
she gets paid for? Interesting.
Yeah, because they're influencers, so they're making money off saying, I just want to be, I just want to be a treasure to my husband and to the Lord. And it's like, well, sure,
okay.
But also you do seem to have quite a lot of followers, and I know that you're being paid in advertising money, so it's a little bit of a conundrum.
They're catering to the retrograde fantasies of a particular kind of right-wing douchebag. You know, the guy that got really excited when they found out that AI could do pornography. You know, at last, all of the tits I love with none of the women I hate.
Have you guys seen Pearl? Do you know who Pearl is? Oh, I want to fight her. We have to get in a ring, just bare knuckles. It's so funny because her whole rhetoric is like, if you get to a certain age and you don't have kids and you're not that pretty, you have no value. And I'm like, wow, the coal is coming from inside the house.
Wow. She says if you're not very pretty and you don't have children and you hit a certain age, you're
done.
You're done.
She said women shouldn't be allowed to vote.
Yeah, more and more.
Yeah, she's crazy.
Oh, I think she says women shouldn't be allowed to vote. I think she turned up at my show one day and tried to interview me afterwards, and I know who that is. She came in London.
I might fight her.
I was doing a show at an arts centre, and she came up and she just said, why do you think... And I asked her lots of questions. She was basically saying feminism is no good, women need to be in subjection to men, and blah, blah, blah. So I just started asking her questions and saying why. And she said explicitly, because men are better people. And that women shouldn't be allowed to vote because men are better people. And I'm like, have you met men? Because, listen, many men are lovely, but the men who aren't lovely are often really very unlovely indeed. And listen, not all women are lovely either. And I don't want to be lovely all of the time. Loveliness isn't everything. But it's, as a trend, I feel like to say men are better human beings than women, and they're cleverer and they should make the decisions. And I'm just genuine. I was just looking at her going, I said, I think you really need help. And she said, no, it's not me that needs help. And I think she's saying provocative things to get attention, because no woman can really believe, some women really do believe in trad values, but I don't think any woman can really believe what she was saying without a great deal of self-loathing or just wanting attention. It was so extreme.
Well, I can see the appeal, right? The appeal of it is for women who are mothers, who are doing the job of motherhood and being told that that's a weird side hobby they have that shouldn't interfere with their real job as a luxury yacht wax salesperson. You know, that something that they should, it's not being given, the weight, or that if you want to become a mother, you have to pay $17,000 per round of IVF, and all of these things which kind of devalue the work. And so it's this odd way in which motherhood is put on a pedestal. And like the joke that I say is like, you're a hero and then we're not going to pay you. Like this. So I can see for women who feel like the very important work that they do is being devalued, that they want a society in which they are given a special place, and the man looks after them and gives them that space and that respect. I think what you're actually signing up for is disrespect.
Yes, and listen, if people want to devote their life to parenthood, no matter who they are, that's a very valuable thing, and it's a wonderful thing, and it's very hard work, and it's complicated, and it's an amazing thing. But when it comes with a lot of strange gendered expectations and ornaments,
the idea that you have never cared for anyone until you become a mother, that you don't understand what real love is. I'm like, okay, so being a mother forces you to care about somebody else and forces you to give something.
Lovingly.
And for some people it's a shortcut. But that's like, it's not the only way that you can give. It's not the only way that you can teach and nurture.
I've nurtured a lot of grown men who are broke. You know what I mean? Like, where's my Mother's Day gift? Hello?
Huda, can you tell us about the activism you've been doing?
Sure. There is like, I was saying backstage, my activism was driven out of urgency. It was like, I don't think anyone chooses to be an activist. It's not like a badge you find on a table and you're like, click, this is now my job description. I'm a proud Sudanese woman. My mother fled at a very, when I was 4 years old. I moved to Cairo, Egypt. No formal training, schooling. I was illiterate. We went through, the story is horrific and it could be an ad somewhere for donate to Black kids. But my activism came out of urgency. As I exist as a Black woman who's an educator and a poet, I have become put as the myth of the moral minority. I'm the good African girl who did something and she's worthy of humanity and respect. So when I speak, there is a sense of we're gonna listen to what she has to say. So it came out of watching other people not have the same power and watching hundreds of social media content creators try to elevate the conversation of Sudan. It was also in my own local community, watching young Black kids try to find a sense of identity and self while trying to kind of cut themselves up to fit into a box that is acceptable for a society in which they are not the norm. And there was an urgency to that. It was I have the power and the privilege that I did not choose, but I can do something with. And I think anyone who becomes an activist, it is not a title we give ourselves. It is a sense of we are in deep crisis. And Black women in my community don't have access to sanitary items. There are no pads, no tampons in war zones. There are no chemists. We have stories of women getting essayed that there is no access to medical support. There is a sense of urgency that comes out of the work that I am doing. Because if I don't stand up, who will? The 20th of July, I'm hosting a fundraiser for Sudan. And all I need is 300 people to show up. That's it. My call to action is July 20th. You show up to Milton and you pull up and you indulge in reviving the humanity that died for Black people. The only time you see Africa on stage has been, please donate $1 to this child who needs clean water. You see Africa as famine, death, war, travesty. And when that's the only rhetoric you see and a war happens, it's a matter of fact. So there is no urgency that arises for people. So my call to action is, while people say that they care, let's put action behind it. Let's put muscle. Activism for me is just actioning a feeling. That's all it is.
That's absolutely wonderful. So you need people to come to your event in July. When is it? July
20th. So my Instagram, Huda the Goddess, I will be posting up a flyer. And it's just a local community event run by 15 volunteers and people who want to come on board. And the idea behind it is people just come. My mom is going to cook and have tea. My sister's going to sing in Arabic. We're going to have a panel discussion to explain what is going on in Sudan. And I'm going to revive the humanity. And we're going to stop burying specifically Black women in the backstage of everything. That is my cult. All I need is 300 people. If I get 300 people, that is $10,000 being raised. And that is a trip with a documentary back to Egypt to get people who are living under trees and housing. That $30 you would spend on a bullshit ass meal at a restaurant you did not like with a guy you don't want to talk to ever again in your life, right? Can absolutely revive somebody's humanity,
So where can they get tickets?
Huda the Goddess is my Instagram handle. Follow me. The flyers and all the details show up on there.
Okay, great. And what's your Instagram handle?
It's just my name, Huda the Goddess. Huda.
Huda the Goddess. And what's the name of the event called?
My fly is not up until Monday. So be there for Monday. Thank you.
Okay. We will also put it on Guilty Feminist socials, and
Thank
we
you
can
so
also
much.
put it on the Guilty Feminist website. So if you're not an Instagram person, if you go to guiltyfeminist.com on Monday, you can see where it is, and we'll have a link to the tickets. If everyone here bought a ticket, that would be done. So if you want to put your feminist money where your feminist mouth is, this seems like a good thing to do, Brisbane. Anisa, can I ask you, do you feel like being an artist, having a voice as a skilled black comedian, is that enough? Do you feel like that is your activism? That just being present and being visible and encouraging other young black children to think, oh, well, hold on, I could be on that stage, or telling a filtered story so that, you know, that a wider audience understands. Do you feel like art is activism?
Yes, I do. Because I remember when I first came to Australia and I loved the communal event. You sit around the telly, you watch it with your family, all the typical Aussie shows, Thank God You're Here, Home and Away. And I was so excited to be a part of this society, but I never saw anyone who looked like me. And immediately that was like I don't belong here, or there's something wrong with me. Why isn't there anybody on the screen with this skin tone? And then I remember a couple of years passed, and the only black woman, she had like very, very, very light skin. So as a little girl, I was like, okay, I need to get lighter. I need to bleach my skin. I need to find a way to gain entry into this society. So if I can be that for that little girl, so she's like, oh my God, I'm a part of this society. I'm wanted. That would be a dream to me. It would be a dream.
Is there anything else that you would like the audience to know about your work, about how you would like them to engage with your work, about anything else you're doing? What is it that you'd like the audience to know or take away or do?
Something that I would like the audience to do. I would love for you to find comfort in discomfort. If you hear someone from a different culture or maybe a different religion saying something that kind of makes you go, ooh, or makes your stomach feel a little bit funny, then you're in the right place. Sit in that feeling, listen to that person, engage with that idea. Because if you're not uncomfortable, then you're not growing.
That's right. Discomfort's so valuable. And we run away from it all the time now. We go, oh, I wasn't comfortable with that, therefore it's harm in some way or another. Or I shouldn't be in this space because discomfort might trigger something in me. But discomfort can be the very thing that builds resilience, that builds power, that builds understanding, that gets us past those things.
And can I add to your comments about representation and the person who looks like you seeing you? I think it is equally important for the people who don't look like you to see, when I think, I was having this conversation with someone who's a comic book fan, and he said, all of the stories with him growing up were of people who looked like him. And so that's a loss for him as well. He doesn't get to, the joy of art is that you get, however sort of ephemerally, to stand in somebody else's shoes for a second. And what a privilege and a pleasure it is to see someone who is completely different, has a completely different life experience than you, to be able to step into their shoes for just this brief instant. How much richer your life is when it's not just mayonnaise.
And but it's also about who's allowed on the journey. Like, this is why I have a massive problem with Paw Patrol, as some regular listeners might have heard before. But I do, because it was created in fucking 2017. It's not from the 70s. And it was like about 4 boy dogs, all who had uniforms and jobs, and a boy person who corralled all the boy dogs. And there was one girl dog, and she was called Sky, and she had a little pink ribbon, and her special skill, they're all in like fireman's uniforms and stuff, and her special skill is she could like fly, she was like a dog helicopter. Like, that's not a job. Dog-copter. That's not a job. Whereas the others all had like uniforms and stuff. Like, one of them was a policeman, I think, which is, all cops are bad cops, but still, in that... Isn't that...
Even if they're a good dog.
Even if... Well, some cops are good dogs. But you know what I mean. And I just like, it's not about just girls seeing themselves represented. It's about boys seeing who they should invite on the adventure. It's just as important for boys. And they've added a few in now because they've had loads of complaints. But go and look tonight at Paw Patrol Pyjamas for Young Children. And you will see boys' pyjamas have all the boy dogs on and they leave Sky off. And the boys apparently complain and go, why is Sky not on? She's in the gang. And it's because they just cannot imagine boys would want a tiny dot of pink on their pyjamas.
Or they don't want boys learning that they can take women to bed with them non-consensual.
Okay, maybe I've misunderstood it then. But the girls have just got Sky on. And it's just like the ghettoisation of the femme that is the other. And we need to start addressing that, because you're absolutely right. It's about who's represented, who's important, affects everybody.
So I feel incredibly lucky. I grew up with a twin brother, and I feel like I watched Monty Python and all of those things as a kid, and they were all men. And it never, like, I think I have what I like to call low gender intensity, because it never occurred to me that I couldn't be them.
Yes.
Because I thought of myself as an extension of my brother in some way, and so I never thought of myself as a girl until I started doing comedy, and people were like, oh, women aren't funny.
I think a lot of people from houses that don't make a big deal of gender get a real shock when they leave home and they go, oh, okay, I didn't know.
Yeah, it's like I realized I was black when I got to Australia. No one ever told me before I got here. It was news, but to point that out, I think the narrative, like representation, one thing that always gets missed often is like, who's writing the female character? And what role is she in the story? It's like, if you say, I'm gonna put a female character in there and she's this like dainty, small voiced girl who likes pink, that's not you representing women. If the script is your male gaze on what women can be and what women is acceptable in the room, that will make you comfortable and not disturb the hierarchy you have not represented women. You
Absolutely.
Can't cookie cut it to like an exception, you know?
Absolutely. I'm just getting a message here. I'm so sorry to be distracted. I'm just getting a message saying we have to wind up the show. Can you reiterate one more time the date of your event?
20th of July.
20th of July. Can you put it in your diaries tonight and say that's what we're doing on the 20th of July? It's really going to make a difference. And check Huda the Gouda, Huda the Goddess, Huda the Gouda. Sorry, I'm slightly name dyslexic, it's very weird. Huda the Goddess, Instagram, or guiltyfeminist.com, and if you could give us the details, or Guilty Feminist socials. We'll all put it out on Monday, and just have it in your diary. Monday, have a little alarm that goes so that you remember to book the tickets. Anything to plug, Alice?
I have a podcast called The Gargle. I have a podcast called Tea with Alice. And I have 2 specials up for £10 on gofasterstripe.com. One is called Twist, and one is called Kronos. And the twist in the twist one is that I'm pregnant.
Wow.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. Anything else to plug, Anisa?
Just that if you like my comedy, you can check out my Instagram, Anisa, and it's the blackface. That's me. My last name's too long.
And you're also on TikTok. And
yes.
You've got loads and loads of followers on TikTok. So share, follow, and get involved, and you'll see Anisa, I'm sure, go from strength to strength and soon be on your television. And also, we're very excited to see the rise of Huda the Goddess. So exciting, so exciting. This has been a really, really wonderful show. Can you give a big round of applause for Anisa Nandaula and Huda the Goddess, Alice Fraser. We will be in Canberra tomorrow night. So if you've got any friends in Canberra, or in fact you are from Canberra, check us out tomorrow night. And now to close the show, once again, the incredible Grace Petrie.
Hello. This is is our penultimate tour date. We had an amazing time. We started out way down in Christchurch, and this is the furthest north that we're going to be, so it feels right to sing this song for you tonight. I've had an amazing time on tour with Deborah. I do absolutely adore touring with her and touring this show, but I have a fiancé that I love very much, and it's tough being on the road a lot as well. So this is a song about travelling. It's called Northbound, and it's got a bit in the chorus where I'm going to sing a line and you are going to echo that line. Are you with me? Okay, so the first one goes by night and day, like this. By night and day. Yeah, it's quite a lot quicker than that. Let's try again and fucking keep up, yeah. By night and day. That's the one. And the next one is by road or rail, right? By road or rail. Amazing. Now, listen. Those two lines are not next to each other. Okay? I know we did them next to each other then, but in the song they are not next to each other, okay? I'm only saying this because there'll come a moment when you feel overcome with an urge to sing. And I promise it'll be the wrong moment, right? But I'm going to give you some non-verbal clues with my face. So I think we're going to be okay. It goes this. Again, gone to AM. This lonesome road goes on forever. Espresso shots when the petrol stop. I will make my way, whatever. The road's so dark, the night's so deep, but I've got promises to keep, and I've got miles upon miles upon miles to go before I sleep. By miles away, I'll get there any godforsaken way. By road or rail, by seas to sail. If there's a way home, I won't fail. Let's take my time. Steady 70 straight down the line. Only one thing on my mind. Hell or high water, come down. King's Cross, I will follow. Guitar on back, and I'm right on track. Always racing with tomorrow, coast to coast. I ride alone, just one more ghost on the last train home. I got miles upon miles upon miles to go, all on my own. By night and day, by miles away, I'll get there any godforsaken way. By road or rail, by sea to sail. If there's a way home, I won't fail. Let's take my time. Steady 70 straight down the line. Only one thing on my mind. Hell or high water, come down. I'm northbound. Chicago, halfway to Colorado, and into Minnesota, and down through North Dakota, into Buffalo, New York. I tell you every time we talk that if I could get to you, I'd walk. Listen, Brisbane, you don't have to. But if you wanted to clap along with this bit, that would have really made my fucking night. Keep it going through the end of the song, and still in the other chorus. By night and day, by miles away, I'll get there any godforsaken way. By road or rail,
You have been listening to The Guilty Feminist with me, Deborah Francis White, guest co-host Alice Fraser, and very special guest Anisa Nandaula. Poetry was by Huda the Goddess. Music was by Grace Petrie. The theme tune was by Mark Koch. Producer was Alana Bone from Vogue Presents. And top singers given the Sport Nature. Thanks to Chloe Jackson, Alison Jones, everyone at Vogue Presents, and everyone at the 4th Street Music Hall, as well as all of you for listening. More information about this and other episodes, visit guiltyfeminist.com. Beautifully done. Beautifully done. Brisbane, well done.
I'm out. I got what I came for.
Excellent. I mean, now, whether or not you enjoyed the show, it's going to sound like you did, because that's what we're going to put on the end.
The Guilty Feminist is provided exclusively from Acast. Find it wherever you get your podcasts.